Hi everyone, this week's card is a hope card, and I kind of had in mind a sympathy themed card, and this would work really well for that, I think. And on the inside here we have just really simple. I'm using a pretty cutting die and some charm dazzles, so please stay tuned to see what this is all about. Today I'm using the double-sided Robin's Red paper pack, and it's got a really fun combination of red, tealish light blue, and ivory and gray. So just a quick look at each of the sheets. Really pretty stripe, some square tile patterns. This is a gray and a really nice, fun red pattern. Really elegant detail here. Dots, can never go wrong with dots. And the last design here. And those are the papers. I've also got a cutting die. This is the Viney Swirl cutting die, and it's got a really pretty shape to it, which you can use with practically any occasion or project. And I also have some dazzles. These are the Silver Pearl Charm Dazzles, and those are kind of unique in that they actually can become charms. So let's get into the project. So what I've done right now is cut a piece of just plain white cardstock to the size of my cutting die so that I put it right on top. So this is my cutting platform. I've got my cutting die and my cardstock here. Make sure that your die is completely covered with paper or cardstock. And then I have my cutting mat. So my machine is called the Epic 6, but the cutting dies will work with any of the other die cutting machines that you might have. So I simply insert it into the Epic 6 and crank it right through. I'll feel some resistance as it cuts through the cardstock, and then it gets really easy at the end, and it'll slide right out. Put that aside, and let's see what we got here. Ooh, very pretty. So I'm just removing the excess cardstock here. And it comes out pretty easily, and there are some openings here where you can kind of poke through so that your Viney swirl will release. There we go. Just being careful not to tear anything important. There we go. Alright, so there is my die cut Viney swirl. Very pretty. Now you could use this in a number of ways. You can use it whole, or you could cut off little bits and pieces of the swirls and use them separately. So lots of versatility with this cutting die. Now I've got my blank white card here, and it's 6.5 inches tall by 5 inches wide. And I've cut this piece of striped teal paper to size, and it's just slightly smaller than the front because I want that white border around it. So this is 1/4 inch smaller than the actual card on either side. So when you glue it on, you'll get an 1/8 inch on all 4 sides of that white border. But before I glue it on, I'm going to round 2 corners, and they're going to be opposite corners. So I have my We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile Corner Chomper with me, and there's 2 settings. There's the 1/2 inch round and the 1/4 inch round. I'm going to use the 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to round the bottom and the top corners, or sorry, the left top and the right bottom corners. There we go. Just stick it in and squeeze the handle. And voila. Same with this corner. Okay, that's looking good. Now I want to do the same thing to my card. Same corners. Just a unique little thing you can do to give your card some flair. Alright, so I've got my fun little shape here, and that can be glued right on top. Alright, now I can set my card aside for the moment. And I have two of the cutouts from the die cut already cut out. They're just white cardstock, and I'm going to flip this one over and I'm going to show you a little trick that I'm going to do. So this is going to be 1/2 of a heart, and this is going to be a second half. But first I have to trim it to fit. All I'm taking from this right shape is going to be this curve right here. So I want to trim off all the extra of the swirls and such. So I'm just going to take my craft knife here and slice through some of the swirls. Just kind of, I don't want to say amputate, but just kind of edit your shape here. Cut this one off, and this will go straight through. Okay, so we have this curve, and let's see, we put them together. It's looking very nice. Now this is a little distracting from the heart shape as well, so I'm going to just trim it off. And if you like, you can save these swirls for use elsewhere on your card. See what that looks like. So it's just kind of editing and then putting it together and see what you like. And I think that swirl looks fine, so I'm going to stop right there. And as you can see, I have all these other swirls that I can add to my image if I like. So going back to the card, I can go ahead and glue my die cuts on. Now what I use to glue it on is Eileen's tacky glue, and I basically just turn it over and place little dots of glue on the small parts. You don't want it to be too much glue, otherwise it'll kind of squeeze out. So I'm going to just place this kind of centered on my card here. Seeing where my heart will end up. And it shouldn't take too long to dry, so I can go ahead and move on to the next step, which is to glue on the other half of my little swirly heart here. Now that I've got my heart and swirl all glued down, I'm going to move along to the dazzles. So these are Silver Pearl Charm dazzles, and I'm going to use a few on my card, not as literal charms, so I don't need to use the mirror images to stick against each other. I'm just going to use single stickers. So what I'm going to use first is this Hope label, and I'm just going to mat it on this white cardstock. So here I have my tiny little Hope tag, and for the actual letters I did color them in with some Spectrum Noir pens. So I have the turquoise set, and I used BT4, which would be this color, to color in the Hope. Now these markers are not part of the bundle, but they are available separately, as well as many other color sets. But the Spectrum Noir pens are really great for coloring in things such as stamped images or pretty much anything you want. They are alcohol based, so they're really nice to work with. Okay, so now that I have my Hope tag, I'm going to start decorating my card. I'm going to foam tape this on, and then I've also tied a small tiny bow using some red twine, also available on Paper Wishes. And one trick of the trade is for the ends so they won't fray. Just take some tacky glue, just a tiny drop, and just roll the glue onto the string between your fingers, and the ends will stay solid and will not fray on you. So this bow is going to go on top of the charm here, And I'm also going to add some other charms and dazzles to the card, and I'll be right back. So here's my finished card front. I added 4 more charms, and I also added little knots of the red twine as well. And all of the charms are backed with foam tape, so they've got that lift to them on the card. And this is the finished card front. So onto the inside, what I've done for the inside is I've cut out a swirl from the stripe paper. I'll show you the negative here. So as you can see, the swirl that I have on the card has been trimmed. So I've cut out some of these excess swirls I didn't want on there, and kind of like I did on the front, and I just customized it to fit what I wanted it to be on the card. So for the charms, I backed those on the red pattern paper. This is the pattern paper, and I also cut just a notch in each of the little holes, so I didn't have to actually string them on. Obviously that's impossible, but I cut a little notch in the little charm holes so that it would look like they were strung onto these vines. And that's it for the inside, keeping it simple as always on Simply Ann. So I hope you guys stay tuned for this week's bundle, and thanks again for watching. First in today's bundle we have the Viney Swirl cutting die, and this is measuring 4 inches wide by about 5 inches tall, and it can be used over and over. Here's a little image of what you're going to be cutting out, and on the back there is a beautiful project idea as well as some more cutting dies available. And we also have silver pearl charm dazzles. Now these are really unique in that each of these images has a double, and what you do is you put them back to back, sticky side to sticky side, and they actually create real charms that you can use on your projects. You can string them onto string, or even put them along a line of dazzles, or you can even use them on a chain. So those are the silver pearl charm dazzles. Here's the instructions on the back, which is always helpful, and a picture of each of the stickers. Now last but not least, we have the Robin's Red double-sided paper pack. Now you're getting, of course, the project idea of the scrapbook page and the card on the front, as well as a full scrapbook spread, another card on the back, and here is a nice image of all of the papers in the set, as well as matching products that you might be interested in. So for the papers, this is a combination that's really delicate yet modern, I think. It's a nice gray, and then it's got touches of teal, light blue, and Robin's Red. So this is double-sided. I'm just going to show you one of each sheet, but you will be getting 2 in the pack. Some really nice, clean designs here. Squares and diamonds. This is a really pretty, it's kind of a muted tapestry background. I really like this one. This is a really petite pattern. Some more kind of hearts in a tile pattern. Really lovely colors on that one. White dots on a gray background. An all over red pattern. This one is a cream and ivory. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a really delicate contrast there. And I love the colors in this one. It's a pretty teal and some ivory on the back. So this is the same pattern, just in different colors. Here's kind of a tile pattern of a mosaic of all of the patterns in the paper pack, which is really fun. So on the back of that we have an ivory dot on top of the red. Wow, lots of patterns to choose from in this pack, and I really love the color combination. And when you're using it with the silver pearl charm dazzles and the Viney Swirl, you can't really go wrong. So that is the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.